Well, so you know, I thought it was kind of be apropos. You get the two old chucks or golfing machine kind of guys, and we got two young guys that have have the beards and attract all the ladies, and it's kind of like two mentors, and see what has evolved over our time in teaching, and see what it started out with you guys, and what you gleaned from TGM, or how you moved on from it, or anything else, So the question I have for Chuck is, back when you were doing Tom Kite and Payne, I don't know if you were authorized then or not. Were you? Were you using the TGM then?
I started TGM in the early 80s.
Yeah.
So I started working with Tom Kite in 1980, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was involved with it for sure.
Okay. What kind of level did you use with those guys early on, as far as the book stuff, or your thoughts on it?
You know what I found out when I started using Golfing Machine is that it answered a lot of the questions that I was looking for. I had certain things that I wanted to get, and I was still learning back then, and so I didn't know exactly how it all fit together. But when I was working with Kite and those guys, we were starting an academy of golf in Austin, and we had a very holistic advisory board. We had a biomechanical engineer, we had Dave Pels for short game, we had a fitness guy, we had Dick Coop for educational psychology. So we were really involved in the science of the game. And so with Golfing Machine, I never found anything that really disputed what these guys were talking about. I mean, Golfing Machine, to me, you have three imperatives. So with the three imperatives, everything else is optional.
Right.
So three imperatives and everything else is optional. And so you couldn't miss. Everybody that teaches golf uses Golfing Machine principles.
Right.
I don't think there's anybody that doesn't. And I think there are some things, that as we've gone on now, things you're finding, or things that are popular to talk about, let's say, are to try and dispute what the Golfing Machine says. And I just don't see that. Nobody's come up with anything to make me change my mind about what I'm teaching.
Right. And a lot of people say it's a method or methodology, but if that was true, you wouldn't need chapter 10 with all the variations, would you?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely. And there's no other, I've just seen no other golf organization or anything that has come up with such a complete explanation of all of the components and how they can fit together, and what if you work on one, what's going to happen to others, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's marvelous. It's marvelous.
Right. So, Rick, how did Chuck's affiliation and his, not model, but his teaching grasp of the Golfing Machine, how did that help you out when you were working together?
Well, he, being a golfing machiner, I guess you'd say, he introduced me to it. So I was kind of, I'd been teaching since the 94, and I was around different kind of ideas. But when I settled in and started working for Chuck, he introduced me to it. And I got a good feel early on, aside from getting the book and diving into it and trying to read it right. I had to read it a lot to understand each word, basically. But in our golf schools, I saw kind of the method that he approached it with how we took some golfers and we started to build in some good fundamentals and those building blocks. We call them Sweden builders, right? So, and I saw how that applicable to the three imperatives and growing impact, and then just moving impact back further and the pivot. So that's where I started really understanding it and organizing it in my mind. And like he said, to his point, those are the three imperatives and everything else is optional. So with all the other stuff out there and the continuing to learn, you're understanding where if somebody's over here talking about a certain swing method, if you will, well, it's in the book, right? It's their aspects. You might have to put the pieces together, but it's in the book, right? So that for me is a big deal. Is the organization of, like he said, the three imperatives, and everything is just based off that. And I really dove into that with the golf schools early on working with Chuck.